Hi there, I am Brittany Edwards and my channel is a box of chocolates. Thank you for joining me today. I'm sure you clicked in because you want to know how to be happy, and I'm going to shed some light. Don't mind me, I won't do that again. So I'm just gonna shed some light on how you might be undermining your own happiness. Let me butter you up with a plagiarized quote to set the mood for this video. One of the most healing things you can do is recognize where in your life you are your own poison. And that's what we're gonna do today. We're going to see how you are being the villain in your own story. I know it's kind of scandalous because you're not supposed to be the villain in your own story. But also sometimes you're the hero in your story, but you're the villain in someone else's version of that story. Anyways, we're getting distracted. Back to how to be happy or happier and how you might be undermining your own happiness. Number one is with expectations. Expectations are the root of all disappointment in life. You guys are really bold to expect anything other than the bare minimum from people. At this point, I just expect people to breathe. Sometimes. Here is why expectations can, cause you a lot of distress in life. When you have an expectation, you have a hope, a dream, a desire for something. And when that hope, dream, desire doesn't come true, that creates a lot of sadness because, you're looking forward to something. Here's a little bit about me, right? Because this channel is a little bit about me sharing my authentic self with you. And historically speaking, I was a misanthrope, but I was a misanthrope with a humanitarian streak. I know it's confusing. Gemini rising. Okay, I was a misanthrope because I was expecting human decency, consideration, ethics, morals. I was expecting all those things from people, and the way people are, that just those expectations, those desires weren't being met, and it caused me a lot of distress. So I got into a space of just not liking human beings, but also still caring about their lives. Just the concept of humans as a whole, right? So now that I have, overcome, grown, I'm not that hurt anymore. This whole not expecting things from people could maybe be a toxic defense mechanism, but at this point, I can't see where it hurts. Another reason why expecting things from people is toxic is that usually these expectations are stemming from using yourself as the marker of all that is good and holy and right or expected. Just expect the bare minimum, which is nothing at all. Expect that everyone has a clean slate and we are all humans and we're going to act or not act in a very human way, which is unpredictable sometimes. It just gave me so much peace to know that the world is about balance. Both sides or all sides have to exist. That's just the way the order works. The system needs to be in balance. So that is the story about how I stopped expecting decency, consideration, etc. from people. Here's why not having expectations is potentially toxic defense mechanism. For me, now I just don't really expect for people to follow through with the plans that they make or things that they say they'll do. But when they do follow through, then I'm just pleasantly surprised and it brings me so much happiness. So maybe that's a little bit problematic and not recommended by your therapist, but it's a way that I've brought more happiness into my life. It just helps me understand people more. Oh, right. Something that's also helped me be increasingly happy with the way human beings are is understanding different personality types. So I'm super big on MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator, and star signs and all of those things because I feel like they're really indicative of how people are. And once you know how people are, it makes it a lot easier to interact with them. I'm an introvert. I need to know how to interact with people. So knowing that and knowing, understanding the different introverts versus extroverts or people that are judging versus perceiving and blah, blah, blah. We can get into that another time if you want. But anyways, just understanding different personality types has made it really easy for me to navigate human beings. Knowing how to navigate human beings has made me happier because even though I seem like a social butterfly, I have a lot of social anxieties. But that is a talk for another day if you want it to be. It's not on my schedule, but it can be, giving hints to my personality type. Anyways, if you watched my last video on how to be unbothered, I mentioned Brené Brown and her talk on vulnerability, her TED Talk specifically on vulnerability. And I absolutely love that TED Talk. I love Brene Brown. I highly encourage you to watch any and all of her TED Talks. Also, if you have a favorite TED Talk by anyone, just like by the side, I really like TED Talk, so if you could just, tell me below and I could watch it. Okay, so in that TED Talk, she mentions that you cannot selectively numb your emotions. So when you say, I don't want to feel, you're taking away your own capacity to feel happiness. That's how that works. And so here's the situation. I know that it's not comfortable experiencing all these heavier emotions, like betrayal, anger, sadness, grief, anxiety. Like, none of that's fun. Nobody wakes up and says, wow, I would love to feel some anxiety today. No, that's not how it works. But feeling is important. We have to allow ourselves to feel, because here's the thing. We need to allow ourselves to experience whatever emotion it is that we're trying to emote, because if we don't emote the emotion, then the emotion is just going to stay with us until we release it. Everything has to be worked through. So when you hold on to these feelings and like resentment or maybe unforgiveness, it'll always stay there even if you try to ignore it. Just because I ignore the rats that I see on the street doesn't mean that they're not there. That's the same thing with feelings. You can try to ignore these heavy feelings that you don't want to feel, but they're still going to be there, and they're going to be there until you learn how to let go, release, and glow up. So, oh, sorry, wildlife. Right. Instead of saying, I don't want to feel, try saying, I want to navigate sadness better. I want to navigate whatever it is better. Not I don't want to feel, because you want to feel. Trust me, because if you don't feel, then you're not going to feel happiness. And I know, because I've been there, done that, wasn't fun, not going back. We'll get to that at another time. Another way that you are completely and utterly undermining your own happiness is by violating your own boundaries. Boundaries are important because they protect your peace. When your peace is unprotected, you cannot be happy. How do you protect your peace? First, you have to know what your peace is, what your peace requires. Me, I'm introvert, so that requires a lot of time alone, in solitude, solitary confinement, away from human beings, by myself. But also at the same time, life is about balance. I used to be a lot more introverted than okay, whatever. We're not gonna get into that. Oh, that's a good video. I'll do the truth about being an introvert. I like that. Okay, moving on. Right, so in order to know what your boundaries are, you have to know who you are. Right? So, excuse me. Okay, so I was historically someone that's, like a do-it-all. I'll say yes to everything because it's really important for me to help people or to be there for people. And that probably stems from the fact that I felt like there were a lot of things I had to do alone or by myself. I'm very self-sufficient, for better or worse, but not in a toxic independent way. And we'll talk about toxic independence later, because I feel like people don't really, know that that's a thing or think about that as a thing. We just think, okay, anyways, I am historically a strong, independent Black woman, but that put me in a space where it was just really hard for me to say no to people. I was just filling up my schedule with a lot of stuff. And I need a lot of time doing nothing. That's just the way I am. And here's proof that that's just the way I am, no relation to Bruno Mars, through my Pattern app. This is also not sponsored, but anyways, part of me doesn't like Pattern because it's just so nosy. It's all up in my business, reading my whole life story, and I didn't ask for that, okay? I'm just trying to sip my little bubble tea and have a nice day. But Pattern wanted more of me, or from me. But anyways, so having this app has just been really helpful for me because it also helps me articulate who I am. And that's the thing that's most attractive to me, to knowing about personality types and star signs. It helps you put into words who you are. It's not that they're telling you who you are, it's that they're putting in words that you can clearly either resonate or not resonate with, and it just helps you define and understand, you. So that's what happened with Pattern. They told me, hey, relax, do you, stay home, and live your best introverted water sign life. And that's what I'm doing, hence the YouTube. So anyways, Pattern said, you ideally spend at least half of your day dedicated to pursuing things that bring you joy and pleasure. That's what they have to say about me. If I'm spending at least half of my day doing things that bring me joy, that means that I'm not working a 9 to 5, okay? That means that I have to say no to people. That means that I can't be hanging out all the time, I can't be doing favors for people all the time, and I can't be somebody's sounding board all of the time. So once you learn how to put those, you know, parameters up, the life I started living was amazing. So my first time saying no to someone, it was actually kind of like scary, you know? And it's complicated too, because it's like I want the social interaction. I want to spend time with people and have friends and blah, blah, blah. But also at the same time, I want to relax, you know? That's just like a hard toss-up and hard decision to make, because there is this, you know, feeling of it's not valid for me to want to stay home or be alone. Like, I'm not doing anything. And I'd like to go, so why not, right? And the first time that I ever said no to someone for something, it just felt so liberating. I mean, I was kind of scared at first, but then after I did it, I was like, wow, that feels good, you know? So that was actually when I was living in Taiwan, and we were supposed to go out and hang out at nighttime. My bedtime is at nighttime, so that just wasn't gonna work. I wanted to go, I wanted to hang out, but I also wanted to sleep and relax. I've been around human beings the whole day and I was drained. Ever since then, I feel like I've been a whole new person. But also, there's been quarantine, so I haven't been a lot of human interactions, but when I do, I know how to, you know, ooh, maybe not this time, but next time. Another way that you're undermining your own happiness is by forcing things. I know nobody really wants to hear that, because we're taught to, you know, like, go, fight for what you want, this is what you need, make your truth happen, make your future, blah, 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 blah. And that is so problematic. That is a whole conversation that we'll really get into another time, and I'm gonna talk about why manifesting is problematic. That whole, you know, hustle, fight for what you want, do, make your thing happen is problematic, because sometimes you'll end up in a situation of fighting really, really hard for something that isn't for you. That's gonna bring you a lot of stress, right? Because you have on these blinders that this is the one thing that you want and you need, and that's just what you're working on, right? And if you don't get this thing, it's gonna rock your world. You'll be so unhappy. Whereas, if you have this one thing and you know you're going for it, but then you just open up to everything that's around you, you'll see that your bubble tea was right here all along, and that's all you ever needed. That would have been a really good transition if I actually had bubble tea right now. Definitely gonna get some bubble tea after this, so jot that down. Anyways, undermining your own happiness by not listening to resistance. It's a complicated situation, because sometimes resistance is not necessarily because something isn't for you, but it just might not be for you at that time or in that way. And we need to listen to that. You know, there's reason why things are not working. And it's not because you're not fighting hard enough. It's because it's just not for you. And once you learn to let go of these expectations, or let go of trying to direct and steer your life, this sounds really weird out of context, but I promise you, when I talk about the manifestation being problematic, when I talk about manifesting or manifestation being problematic, it's gonna make a lot more sense. I promise. I don't want to get all into that all right now, but hear me out. Learn to walk in alignment with your path. That's basically what I'm saying. When you're in alignment with your path, when you are who you are and protecting your boundaries of whatever who you are is, and you are, what else did I say? What else? Right. And you are saying that you want to know how to navigate heavy emotions better versus saying that you don't want to feel, and you are not expecting things from people, you are going to be living a really happy life, in theory. Well, this is a wonderful time for me to encourage you to click subscribe and join the tribe so you can find out when my next video drops and we talk about, well, I don't want to say what we're going to talk about next, but this is a whole series. It's a whole package, effectively. Thanks for joining.